Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, I guess, because we live on a round planet that's spinning around a hot, fiery orb in the middle of space. Yes, could be daylight anywhere, could be any time where it is, where you are. That's me trying to be pithy and deep on a Saturday morning when I maybe not have had enough coffee. So I'm checking the volume thing here. I'm actually on my iPad today. First time I think I'm streaming from my iPad. So kids are off in a class, and let me put the chat overlay so I can respond to Q&A as they come in. This interface is a little weird. I'm kind of used to the desktop interface, but hopefully you're having a great day. Um, so cerebral. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Randy. um, it's a cerebral kind of day. Let me see if I can go down and highlight your host. How you doing, Randy? Yes, very cerebral. I love it. I think after this, I'm gonna go stop and maybe get some Starbucks or something. Um, Kids are in a class, so I'm just kind of doing the dutiful dad thing in the car while they're busy learning, and I'm just hanging out here in the car, and I do something I always do, which is make double use of the time and stream. Good morning, Michael. Yeah, it's true. It's 11:47 here in the East Coast, so it's actually an overcast day. The cicadas have kind of calmed down, I guess. I guess they don't like rain, but I'm okay with that because I have had, if you watched stream yesterday, very intriguing week. I was sick. The kids were sick. My wife was sick. The dogs have been eating cicadas like crazy, like they're candy, and um, everybody got sick this week, dogs included. Um, so yeah, early morning. Oh, um, I didn't know you were working on your PhD. Congratulations, Randy. That's cool, man. What's your PhD going to be in? Is it going to be in like data analytics or math or kind of some other topic? Thanks for using me as a study break. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like to add value when I can. But so your brain's already like cranking. So when I did the whole cerebral thing, it didn't. Maybe it resonated. I don't know. But yeah, yeah. So it's been a rough week. It's a week I'm glad to see in the rearview mirror as opposed to in the front view mirror. Oh, cool! Digital and strategic communications. I should message you and get some more deets on that. That sounds fascinating. Or if one of these days you'd like to come on and do a live stream or be on the podcast, just let me know, man. Just let me know. Speaking of podcasts, they actually interviewed me. When I say they, it was Andy. Andy actually interviewed me. Um, the that So it was pretty cool. So he asked me questions. It was a fun thing. It's got a lot more traffic than I thought an episode featuring me would be. So who knows? Maybe Andy will break the record. I don't know. So far, I think our record is Dave Wenzel's talk, which is an awesome talk because it's very contrarian. It's basically you don't need a data warehouse. Awesome, thanks, Randy. Yes, your daughter. Yes, so you depending on where you are, Michael. There's different broods. I think this is called Brood X, and it's basically anywhere from like southern Pennsylvania to kind of just north of Central Virginia. Although I think Andy said they've had cicadas, so I don't know. And he lives out in Farmville, which is smack dab, pretty much Central Virginia. So I think we're supposed to have this brood until the end of the month. There was this whole thread somewhere, it might have been a news story about how they're not on the eastern shore of Maryland and why that is. Summary is that the cicada kind of ranges take thousands of years to kind of establish themselves. They move at about 100, either 50 feet or 150 feet per year. So let's just take the middle. Say 100 feet per year is how they expand or their territory. And ultimately, it's because, at some point that part of the state was underwater or under a glacier. So there you have it. I think 17 years from now, I'm gonna schedule a rent a Airbnb to spend a couple weeks in the Eastern Shore or wherever this brood is in. They're just annoying. Like they don't bite you or anything, but like I was outside power washing, and the damn things were like all over me. Like they just stick to anything, and it's just like it's crazy. And the dogs, oh my god, the dogs think they're at a buffet, like a Las Vegas buffet, and they're just doing this. And unlike other bugs, like they're apparently the hard shell causes them a lot of GI distress. I'll spare you the gory details. So yes, you depending on where you are, Michael, you're gonna get it. I think next on the docket for 2023 is I think the next major cicada outbreak. I lived in New York City. No, what was that? No, I was in Richmond when the last kind of 17 years ago I would have been in Richmond. That wasn't really a problem, but they go where the trees are. So if you live in a place with a lot of trees, like I do, 16 and a half years out of 17 years, it's a wonderful thing. Uh, it's not. Oh my God! So I was walking around my yard and bumped into a tree that's on my side of my house. I ignited a biblical plague of locusts. I mean, that's what it looked like. It was just like it was very disturbing. So my wife was like, "Don't tell me these things." I'm like, "Well, just don't touch any trees. You'll be fine." So, yeah. So that's kind of what's going on in Frank's world. The other thing is, I mentioned that I was interviewed on the Data Driven podcast. It's quite a trip being interviewed on your own podcast because you wrote the questions, So and I've asked the questions 200 plus times of other guests, so it's pretty cool. We're gonna do Andy next, and then here's the fun thing: we're trying to figure out how to do it. I don't think we'll be able to do it live unless someone can get me access to a GPT-3 instance. Big shout out if anyone's there is willing to do it. But ultimately, the plan is to interview our AI voiceover assistant, Bailey, which is short for British AI Lady, and kind of ask her some questions. And we're going to have fun with that. And then we have a couple of shows with guests in the queue. If you try to schedule a show with us and we kind of like borked it, I apologize. I went and when I left Microsoft, I went and set up my own custom little domain, Office 365 tenant, but I borked the DNS for the mail. So I can send mail out, but I can't get mail back because the MX record is messed up. And the MX record, which I think stands for Mail Exchange, fun fact, MX is also the country code for Mexico. So I don't know why that popped up. Clearly, I'm on that. Like, I had a bunch of coffee this morning, but it's starting to work its way through my system. So I'm kind of on that, like, riding that hill down, which is always the most fun part of any roller coaster. Is like when you're at the crest, and then right after you drop, you start feeling kind of like you're falling. Like, so that's kind of where I am in the caffeine cycle right now. Speaking of caffeine cycle, I have not had diet soda in 4 weeks. So, which is the longest I think I've ever gone without diet. Actually, every day I go without diet soda is the longest I've ever gone without diet soda. So, uh, that was something a goal I set this year to reduce my intake of diet soda, and I've set that multiple years in a row. But this year I actually did it. Yay! Um, Yes, Randy. Yes, it should be an easy fix, but I haven't messed with MX records and stuff like that. I need to go and actually read the documentation. Crazy, right? So I'm gonna do that. I've just not had the chance, and there's a couple of things I need to figure out on the Office tenant. So obviously, I've been an Office 365 user. I mean, since Office 365 has been around, but now I'm an admin because I have my own tenant, and this isn't like, oh, I have my own tenant. I'm going to start walking around with some swag. Um, there's other reasons to walk around with some swag, but there's all these options and stuff that you have that as a user you wouldn't normally see. And now, let's be real, the number one tenant I've done most of my work on is the Microsoft tenant. I'm never going to get privileges to that, admin privileges to that, nor do I want it. But there's all sorts of stuff you can do with teams and setting up kind of live events and webinars. So yeah, it should be an easy fix, but I find um, I don't know. I just need to do more reading, and I've just been swamped with work. I've been kind of battlefield promoted at work due to some employee attrition, which I'm excited. I mean, I'm not complaining. Like it's just like I have really grown, had the opportunity to learn a lot and grow in my role at Electrify, and I feel much more mature and established than I have in quite some time. So you've been off six, wow, soft drinks for 6.5 years. Withdrawal is a huge headache, literally. Yes, yes. So I've actually not quit caffeine. That's gonna be something for another year, another New Year's resolution. But ultimately, um, ultimately, um, ultimately, I've been upping my caffeine, my coffee and water intake, and iced tea. Right, so I'm still getting the caffeine. I find myself though when I drink iced tea, I don't want it sweetened anymore. I'll just take it plain. I've taken my coffee plain for a number of years now, but yeah. So I don't miss it. Like I've had seltzer water to replace kind of that. I like the fuzzy feeling and obviously the caffeine, but seltzer does the trick for me. So I guess I'm getting old. Like I drink the flavored seltzer water, or is it mature? I don't know. But anyway, let me tell you, the amount of soda I would drink was just ungodly. Wow, you were drinking 3 to 5 Mountain Dews a day? Woo! I I I got to the point where I would get like box of cans of Dr. Pepper and just run through that like you wouldn't believe. Then I got to the point where this is kind of a pain recycling all this stuff. Our recycling for metal stuff was just always packed. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just get the 2 liters when they're on sale. So I'd run through like two-liter bottles easy a day. And I was like, when I started cracking open a third 2-liter bottle, within 24 hours, I was like, yeah, I need to stop this. And that you know, ultimately what happened was I ran out of soda in the house. And when the Colonial Pipeline went on, my car, both my wife's car and mine were very low on gas. And I'm like, I don't want to drive to the store and waste gas for that. You know what I mean? Oh wow, those big gulps. I call those the bladder busters, man, from 7-Eleven. And you're right, Randy. Let me tell you that office portal is not easy to navigate. I have the app on the phone, which is slightly better, but there's so many nooks and crannies for things to hide. For the life of me, I'm trying to get. So one of the things you can do in Teams, and I don't know if I have the right license for it, right? Because there's different levels of license. There's E5, E7, um, and stuff like that. So I basically bought Office 365 um, subscription for as an employee. I can still set up an employee store. So basically, I don't know if I'm allowed to publicly see what the price are, but it's pretty good. So I basically set up a tenant for the family, and so we can kind of like have. I know it's really nerdy, right? Like like a SharePoint calendar, SharePoint stuff for the kids' schoolwork and stuff like that. Getting the kids to use it, getting the family to use it has been yet another challenge. But one of the things I like is like if I wanted to host my own webinar, right, and I can kind of do it on my own tenant. But for some reason, I can't see it in my options. So there's a number of things I got to do, you know. Um, but yeah, there's a whole laundry list of things I want to do, but um, I think that'll be worth it because I can be like, hey everyone, come to my webinar. Not that the live streams are cool too, but webinars I think a little more. I don't want to say intimate because that sounds weird, but like it's more like there's more guaranteed interaction if that makes sense. With a live stream, there's with a webinar, the round trip is a lot shorter than this. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube Live, all that stuff. There could be up to a minute lag time. So between I see you make your comment based on something I said when you heard it to when I see it, and then I responded and you hear it. There's an interesting lag time. So there's actually a video on YouTube where they took advantage of that, and there was this band, and each person played. They timed it right So each person played a particular part of the song and an instrument, and it's like as the feed went on, like you would hear it. It was cool. It was like that's cool. Like they're taking a limitation of the platform and kind of running with it and making it work for them. But yeah, so that was fun. Um, and that's about it. Andy and I are still working on our secret project. It's just one of those things where um, craziness. There's no excuse, right? Like I really try to like. I read Extreme Ownership by Jocko, and I can't think of the other guy. Leaf something. Um, it's just like you take extreme ownership of things. That's how the Navy SEALs do things. That's how great leaders do things, right? Like it's like so So I mean that's totally on me. Actually, Randy, now that I mention it, so one of the things you can do in the office, and this is I just have the ones you can go to Staples and buy, right? Like it's basically that level. I think it's E3. I think it's E3 is what internally Microsoft sales teams would call it. But Bookings comes with it. So Bookings, let me tell you about Bookings. Bookings is really cool. So it's basically kind of like Calendly, but it's basically integrated into Office. So you can basically point people to, and this is what we would do for podcasts because we started having a lot of guest requests come in. Like here, go to this here, and fill this form out, and it will figure out. Yeah, people can kind of choose what they're doing. There's also another feature, and shout out to Noelle Silver for this one. She taught me this is that you can actually email Cortana, CC Cortana on a thing and say, "Hey Cortana, schedule a meeting time that works for both of us," and she'll go. And if she doesn't have access to one or more of the parties' calendars, she'll just basically say, "Hey, look, I found these 3 times that worked. Let me know which works for you." And then NLP is there, the natural language processing is there, and it gets it, and it's pretty cool. What it does. Oh, so you have the one from the MS. Randy says, "Yeah, I have the one for the MS alumni program." Yes, that's the same one I got. I actually bought it on like my last week, so I didn't have to because I think you get a different like account list or account. Um, you can only buy about so much software because what they I actually think somebody got busted for this like 10, 15 years ago, where they were basically buying it at cost from the Microsoft store and then selling it on like it's back when things were shrink wrap, selling it on like eBay or becoming like a major reseller and basically undercutting everyone else. So there's like a limit now how much you can buy in the store software wise. So I knew that when you get the account for the MSM alumni program, you get it. So if yeah, so I'm good for I guess another year on the tenant. I'm trying to get the family to use it. I guess it's just like work, right? Like how do you get people to use the SharePoint site? Um, and but yeah, Teams and stuff like that. I have on my son's laptop. Yeah, he has Team. I made sure Teams is installed. So and he does have a phone, so like I can call him and message him and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Like, and it's like, yeah, I know we could use other tools like Facebook Messenger and blah 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 blah, but I know the privacy terms on Teams are going to be a lot better than they are on Mr. Zuckerberg's platform, shall we say? So I wonder if the Facebook feed will cut out now. I don't know. I mean, so I mean, it's pretty cool, and obviously you get Office and all that. And there's a lot of apps in Office that most people don't realize. Speaking of which, and speaking of Microsoft alumni, there's a YouTuber, Kevin Stratford. I guess he used to work on the Office team. He basically does how-to videos um, on how to, and basically all the stuff that's hidden in Office and all like how to make the most of it. Really good YouTube channel, really good stuff. I've linked to a lot of that stuff on franksworld.com. Actually, speaking of franksworld.com, I worked with SiteGround, and the site is no longer CPU throttled. So thank you for sending in those reports of the site being slow. I have been taking it seriously, and I think I finally got it resolved. And this month I can start, getting back to the regular, frequent blogging. I'm also thinking of breaking out a new site just for quantum computing because it's Frank's world of data science and AI, right? And obviously there is a lot of overlap between quantum computing and data and AI, but I think that it's different enough that it requires a certain niche thing. And the same reason we broke out the podcast, right? To from data driven to impactquantum.com. And which reminds me, there's a lot of people I got to get back to. It's hard finding quantum subject matter experts that are willing to go on a podcast, and because they're either shy and introvert and they don't do podcasts, or or they're super busy with doing stuff. So I've actually been looking for some good certification programs on quantum computing. So with that, speaking of quantum computing, there's a couple of courses on Udemy I got, so I want to check those out. Actually, another field that's come up quite a bit at work, and I have to be careful how much I reveal, bioinformatics. So bioinformatics is essentially a specialization of data science and advanced analytics. I know someone will flame me in the comments for this, but think of it like data science, but specific towards health sciences. Not so much kind of medical records and stuff like that per se, but more along the lines of genomics and medical research or biological research. That's generally kind of the flavor it is. When I was at Microsoft, I mean, we had a couple of customers, and it was hard to find internal people at Microsoft that had the bioinformatics experience. So I actually bought a bunch of courses on Udemy, and then a bunch of squirrels ran by, and I got distracted. So, but lately it's been coming up more and more. And I suspect when you think about kind of when we start doing the postmortems on the outbreak and the pandemic, there's going to be, I think, a surge of, well, look, people with this genotype had this symptom. People with that genotype had this symptom. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting kind of research to come from that, assuming we can get clean, honest data. That's a topic for another stream. What else? I was going to say something else profound. But anyway, franksworld.com is back up and running. If it's not, let me know. Please let me know in the comments. And if you want to be a guest on either podcast, datadriven.tv or impactquantum.com, let me know. And additionally, trying to kickstart the startup podcast. I'm looking for some help with that. Got a bunch of stuff in the hopper, I'll put it that way. Well, we're going to launch our secret project next and then make sure that's going. And that's it for me. It is a wonderful overcast afternoon. And I know normally that's not wonderful, but it's 60-something degrees Fahrenheit, which is way more comfortable than the pushing the high 90s and the humidity that we have here. So that's the DC summer for you. So with that, I'm going to end the live stream. I'll see if I can play some of my fancy graphics. Thank you, Randy, for commenting. Thank you, Michael. And if you're not watching this live, and just feel free to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, do whatever the Twitch people do. Yeah, have a great day, and leave a comment if you're. I always try to reply to the comments either on air or after. And you have a fantastic day. All right, so let me play the outro graphics. It's tough doing this on an unfamiliar device. Normally, I do it on a laptop or even my cell phone. So, because the iPad screen's bigger, I have more options and stuff that show up. So, which means there's more stuff for me to comb through. So, here we go. Wait, I might have clicked it too much. Oh, you see my wonderful face. All right, let's see. One last time.